This is a single arm cable lat pull down. It is great for isolating the lats and making it great to develop a good mind muscle connection with the back, especially when you get a slow eccentric and a pause at the bottom. Before I get into the setup, take note that this exercise can be performed seated with a bench to allow for better bracing, which I highly recommend, especially if you are a stronger individual, but can also be performed kneeling down like this, which is easier to set up, but can be harder to brace and is more fatiguing. And lastly, it can be done on a lat pull down machine, just using a D handle with the torso angled back. Regardless of the setup, do the one that aligns best with the equipment and space you have available at your gym. Starting with the kneeling variant, as it's the easiest to set up, have the cable set at the maximum height to allow for the full range of motion. Kneel down, preferably on a mat at a distance where you're making between a 30 to 45 degree angle with the cable. Be slightly off center so that the cable is in line with the shoulder of the working arm. Have the same knee to the working arm on the ground and place the hand of that opposite arm on the thigh to be able to brace for the movement. The torso should be vertical like this, so make sure that towards the end of your set, especially as you're approaching failure, you're bracing with the hand on the thigh and squeezing that core to maintain the upright position. And we're using a neutral grip, that means palm facing towards the center, and make sure you keep a neutral grip through that entire movement. Don't let that hand supinate with that palm facing up, as it'll incorporate more of the biceps and take tension off of the lats. To initiate the movement, grab the handle, again with a neutral grip, and I like to use a hook grip with the thumb overhand as it helps me get a better mind muscle connection with the lats. Also feel free to use wrist straps if you struggle with your grip. Once you have tension on the cable, drop the shoulders slightly down towards the hip and shoulders slightly back, as this will allow for a better stretch of the lats at the top. But make sure you don't rotate the torso and use momentum as you go down. Pull it down through the pinky and the elbow like you are trying to drive the elbow down towards the hip versus like you are pulling back. Keep the arm tied to the torso and go down until that upper arm is at or slightly behind the torso, and get a 1 to 2 second pause here at the bottom. Also, the cable should be making a straight line with the forearm at the bottom of the movement like this. If you feel mostly the bicep, you are likely pulling to the shoulder versus pulling towards the hip. Another cue that can help with mind muscle connection is thinking like you are driving the shoulder to the hip as you go down. On that way up, think like you're reaching the hand away from the body while still pulling down. Again, try to keep tension through the elbow and the pinky. Go up until the arm is almost fully extended, and I do like to get a tiny pause in the stretch position as well. Do not extend the arm all the way and allow the shoulder to excessively shrug up like this. Keep the core tight as you approach failure, and don't excessively rotate the torso like this as you go down. Now for the seated variant, where the technique itself is basically the same and the same cues apply to the kneeling variant. However, this time place a bench close to the cable tower, where again you're making a 30 to 45 degree angle with the cable. Set the bench at an angle so that it's upright like this to be able to brace with that opposite arm, having the torso in a vertical position. Do not lean forward like this. Make sure you are leaning slightly back with that torso vertical. Again, this is going to be more stable than the kneeling variant and can help you get a better mind muscle connection, since you won't have to brace with the core as much. It'll make it easier to maintain form as you approach failure. Similar to the kneeling variant, set the bench off center from the pulley so that the cable is in line with the shoulder, and make sure to slide that bench over when you do the other arm. Get some tension on the cable, bring the shoulders slightly down and back. Lead with the pinky and the elbow, thinking like you're trying to drive that elbow downwards towards the hip and keeping the arm tied to the torso. Keep the hand at a neutral grip that entire movement, and don't let that hand supinate like this. As you go up, think like you are still reaching the hand away from the torso, and always 2 to 3 seconds on that way up. Also make sure that as you pull down, keep the shoulder down as well. Do not let the shoulder shrug up as you pull down like this. And another mistake we want to avoid is letting the shoulders excessively roll forward and stretch up like this. And like I mentioned at the beginning, the last variant is using a lat pull-down cable machine with a D handle for the grip. However, to create the same angle the cable makes with the torso from the other two variants, have the torso angled back like this and brace with that opposite arm. Now personally, this one is my favorite variant because it allows the stability of those thigh pads on there, and you can still brace with that other arm. And similar to the other two variants, you want to make sure that you are slightly off center with the hips towards the side of that non-working arm, so that when you're going down, that cable is vertical and you're able to pull tight to the torso, versus if you were in the center, that cable would going out to the side a little bit, and it would make you want to bring that elbow out to the side and make it harder to keep it down towards the side of the torso. Regardless of which one you do, make sure you're training with intensity. For example, trying to squeeze out more range of motion on those last reps so you can't go all the way down like this. Thanks for watching. Like this video right now and subscribe so I can keep making tutorial videos just like this one. See ya.